like to call our meeting to order. It's 6 o'clock, and I would like to declare that we do have a quorum present. If you will please stand. Our invocation and pledges of allegiance. Our invocation will be led by our Roberts Elementary students, and our invocation will be led by Mr. Joe Ryder.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for this opportunity for us to gather tonight to honor the students that have excelled in their athletic endeavors. We're here to be blessed to and have a community company join us as part of our CTE program and our family. We have parents, we have teachers, we have administrators. We ask that you be with each of these tonight, their families. As we leave here tonight, give them safe guidance home. Let us make this night have an understanding of what the real season that we're looking at is all about. Amen.
Amen. I do have our the names. I have Kamora Cantu, Remy Crossler, Tshcp, and Peyton Adger from Roberts Elementary School.
Now for the pledge to the American flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now for the Texas flag.
Under the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
All right, I would like to ask our board to begin making its way to the front as we transition into our awards, achievements, and recognitions. I will now turn our presentation over to Mr. Carter.
Good evening, Superintendent Massey, Board President, Board members, staff, and guests. I have the pleasure of presenting tonight's first recognition. Our Brazosport Boys Cross Country team, under the direction of Assistant Coach Andrew Rivera and Head Coach Michael Tummons, for the first time since 1986, ran at the state meet. Also, for the first time in 26 years, the Bradford Boys Buccaneer Cross Country team earned district championship at the district meet. They took third in regionals, which qualified them for state. The state meet was held last month at Old Settlers Park in Round Rock. The Brazosport Boys team competed against more than 140 of the best cross-country teams in the state to finish in the top 10 in the state meet. An outstanding showing for an outstanding team. Gentlemen, when I call your name, please join Mr. Massey and the board. Running for the Bucks, Evan Andrus. Earning a first in the Texas High School Coaching Association of All-State Academics, Giovanni Diaz. Riley Coolman. Earning the highest academic status, elite, by the Texas High School Coaches Association, Academic All-State, and was named to the Cross Country Coaches Association All-Region team. Trevor Coleman. Mason McPeters. Diego Moya. And Charlie Patton. Charlie was also named to the Cross Country Coaches Association All-Region team. And now, I'd like to bring up Brazosport Girls Cross Country runner, sophomore Maya Thunk, to join the Brazosport team, boys team. Maya, come on out. Maya, in her first year of running cross country, was a 24/6A champion, placed third in region, and qualified for the state meet, an outstanding showing. And of course, none of this could have been possible without their coaches. Assistant coach, Andrew Rivera. Head coach, Michael Tummons. Athletic coordinator, Danny Young. Congratulations for a wonderful, marvelous season. And we do need to do this quickly because Coach Tummons has a basketball game across the parking lot that starts at 7. Coach Jones, if I could get you to come
Can we get in? Can you get us a ticket?
I know the guy. I don't have a pass. That's Coach Woody.
Maya.
It's Coach Terrence.
Mr. Dunn.
Where do you go?
Come up. There you go.
You can stand in front of me.
All right. You got him? Oh,
There she is. All right. And I'll take a couple. And then anyone can go after me too. All right. Right here. 1, 2, 3. And another. 1, 2, 3. And hold.
Congratulations. Mr. Mack has a presentation.
Good luck tonight, Coach Thomas. Coach Thomas, you're
For
up.
both of you. For your offices. Right now.
Nice job, guys.
Now it's my pleasure to invite Mr. Aaron Ennis, BISD's Resource Development Coordinator, to present our next recognition. Mr. Ennis?
Thank you, Carla. BASF's commitment to community states, our commitment to a sustainable future includes creating chemistry in the communities in which we live and work. The kind of chemistry that brings people together to work toward a healthy and successful future. Tonight, BISD is proud to recognize BASF for their $1 million investment towards BISD CTE Major Giving Campaign, and for their continued commitment of creating strong chemistry between their organization and our district. The mission of our CTE campaign is to grow BISD's already thriving CTE program. With this investment, BASF will be investing in the advancement of many different programs such as Catalyst, Manufacturing, Welding, Vet Tech, Ag Mech, Health Science, and our new Information Technology and Cybersecurity tracks. BASF's mission statement says, "We want to contribute to a world that provides a viable future with enhanced quality of life for everyone." With this investment, BASF is helping ensure that BISD holds true to our mission statement to graduate each student to be future ready. Brazosport ISD thanks BASF for their generous investment and support of our district and community. Working together, BASF and BISD can create the chemistry that is needed to provide a stronger future. Here tonight to accept this recognition is BASF Site Controller and BISD Education Foundation Board Member Patrick Stevenson and Senior Vice President Chris Whitty. Thank y'all so much.
Come on in. I'm taking not yet. Wait.
It's a little bit easier than with those tall ones.
Girls corner over there, y'all be quiet.
Got it, baby?
We're rallying. Here.
All right.
1, 2, 3. And my second. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
more examples of VISD students and staff setting the standard of excellence across the state and the nation.
At this time, in accordance with BED Local, the board will provide an audience with individuals who have signed up prior to the meeting to address the board. Tonight we have one. Mr. Atkins will serve as our timekeeper. For those requesting to speak, please note that comments are limited to a maximum of 5 minutes per speaker, with a maximum of 30 minutes total allotted for public comment. Delegations of more than 5 shall appoint a representative to present their views to the board. The board will not entertain negative comments on individual personnel or students in public session. Patrons are encouraged to use appropriate campus and administration channels before bringing concerns to the attention of the board, and board members are not allowed to deliberate, discuss, or make decisions regarding any subject not included on the agenda posted. Tonight we have one, and Mrs. Laura Gajardo. Guajardo.
Hello, everyone. I am here today to support the mothers of the children who have been assaulted or treated unfairly or neglected by BISD staff. We spoke last Monday. We were expecting at least a call or something to be said, and we still, as of today, haven't heard back from y'all. This is very concerning because from what I saw, I mean, we know y'all have fun. From what happened to my son, he was physically assaulted. He's 4 years old. He was assaulted by a staff member.
That's not true. Excuse me.
And you know this for a fact.
Go ahead.
I also have emailed the superintendent. I've emailed pictures. I've emailed the diagnosis and everything else that the administration needs to have removed that person while they were being investigated. The case was referred to the grand jury. The DA is handling it, but BISD has not given me any answers. What they did do is they said they were going to put cameras in his classroom. They did say that, try to put a Band-Aid on it, and said, okay, we're going to work with you to try to get them to do this and do that, when my child was never the issue. When a child is hurt at school, there should be procedures to be followed, and they weren't. I was not contacted. The excuse I was given is she didn't know my number. Everyone here knows that when a child goes into a school, you have to have an emergency contact, the parent's number, and all that information. That is not a good enough excuse for me. From the school, I took my child to the doctor. From the doctor, they sent me to the emergency room. From the emergency room, I went to the police department. They said I needed to come here the next day. I came here the next day. I said I needed to make a police report. I wasted my time talking to an HR lady. I also talked to the superintendent of special needs. And then from there, while I was talking to them, I got a phone call from my doctor saying I needed to take my son to the Children's Hospital, Texas Children's Hospital. We were there for 12 hours. This is not okay. Due to the negligence and of people that need to be held accountable for doing their job and they're not, our children are being hurt, our children are being harassed, nothing's being done, our children are being physically assaulted, nothing is being done. If something was being done, then one of the parents' kid wouldn't have been in juvenile detention. if things were being handled the way they were supposed to. And what I'm asking today is to at least give each and one of us mothers a meeting so y'all could explain or could tell me what was being done, were people held accountable for hurting my child or for not dealing with the situation the way it was supposed to be dealt with. Our children deserve a safe environment to learning. My child deserves all the extra stuff that y'all offer. I mean, he's 4, he's autistic. His first day of school, face to face, my child came home bruised and no one was able to give me answers. And now the superintendent, while I was talking, said no. Like, he knows for a fact. He was there. He was there in the classroom. He knows exactly how it happened. And that is not okay. Change needs to happen. And I hope everyone here touches something that I said touches your heart. And that y'all put yourselves in our place. Because if it was your children, if it was your child coming home bruised up, you would want answers too. I hope everyone has a good day today, the rest of your day. But like I said, us mothers deserve justice, and we deserve answers. And something needs to be done. We waited here and we were told. My child's advocate came and asked if y'all were going to come out the next meeting. They said no, we weren't going to have answers, and y'all weren't coming out to give us any answers, and that's why we left. Thank you for y'all's time.
Thank you. We will now hold a public hearing. Ms. Rebecca Kelly will conduct a public hearing to discuss School First. This is a public hearing, so audience participation is invited at the conclusion of the presentation.
Good evening. In accordance with Board Policy CFA Legal, it is my pleasure to facilitate a public hearing on the 2021 Annual Financial Integrity Rating System of Texas. Brazosport ISD received the highest possible rating. Included in your agenda documents is a full copy of the report. Under School First, districts report certain financial data to the Texas Education Agency, including the district's annual financial report. TEA assigns a financial accountability rating to each district. Then within 2 months, each district must announce and hold a public hearing to distribute their report and explain the district's performance to taxpayers. The School First was developed by the Texas Education Agency in response to legislation passed in 1999. In 2006, performance under School First was added as consideration for accreditation along with academic performance. School First provides additional transparency to public education, finance, and meaningful financial oversight and improvement for school districts. Pursuant to the Texas Education Code requirements, the Commissioner of Education has adopted rules to implement and administer School First. This year, there are 5 new indicators for a total of 20 indicators. The rating scale also changed with the F category moving from 60% to 70% or less, and then C being adjusted from 70 to 79. Districts may receive one of 4 financial accountability ratings: A for superior achievement, B for above standard achievement, C for standard achievement, and F for substandard achievement. Brazosport ISD received an A for superior achievement. TEA will base the district's rating on the district's overall performance on the financial measurement, ratios, and other specified indicators. The ratings are based on data from the immediate prior fiscal year. This data includes the district's annual financial report, PEIMS data, any warrant holds, and the district's average daily attendance information used for school funding purposes. There are 20 indicators upon which the rating is based, and this year's rating system introduced some ceiling indicators that must be met, or the max rating for that indicator would be applied. The first 5 are designated as critical indicators and must be passed in order to avoid an F rating. There were no changes to these indicators, which are as follows: timely filing of the annual financial report and the data submission to TEA, an unmodified opinion with no material weaknesses in the annual financial report, compliance with payment terms of all debt obligations, timely payments to government entities, and then unrestricted net asset balance greater than zero, which has not been scored by TEA for the last 2 years. However, BIC passes all 5 of these critical indicators. Indicators 6 through 14 are solvency indicators. Indicator 6 is new and is measuring for any rapid decline in fund balance over a 3-year period. This is a ceiling indicator and is not passed. The highest the highest rating we could receive would be a B. Indicators 7 through 14 are scored either 0 or 10, and some of which are scored on a sliding scale of 0 to 10. Indicator 10 is also new and is measuring budgeted revenues compared to actual revenues. There was some conversations and discussions back in the 86th legislative session on how conservatively school districts were budgeting revenues, and so they applied this new first indicator that actually measures that. And our variance was 2.34%, so well under our 7% requirement. Indicator 11 measures long-term liabilities to total assets, and to receive full points, your ratio must be less than 60%. At 61.42%, we did lose 2 points on this indicator. Losing the points is related to the bond issuances for non-construction related costs. So we're using debt funds to fund the non-capital, non-construction related items to save the general fund dollars. So I can certainly accept that 2-point reduction to be able to use our bond dollars in lieu of general fund dollars that are subject to recapture. Within these indicators, BISD received a total of 78 out of 80 points. Indicator 15 through 20 are financial competence indicators. There are 3 new indicators in this area. Indicator 15 is measuring average daily attendance projections made by the district prior to each legislative session. The Legislative Budget Board uses these projections made by districts when developing the state's budget. So tying a first indicator to our projections hold us a little bit more accountable for the accuracy of that data. As you can imagine, going into the COVID years, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to make those projections as accurately. I'm curious to see how the state will handle this indicator in the next couple of years. I do want to thank Mr. Redden and our compliance and data quality team for the work they did to help me pull these projections to ensure that they were accurate and we passed this indicator. While not new, indicator 16 was changed to a ceiling indicator, and if not met would yield a maximum rating of B. Indicator 17 is also a ceiling indicator to ensure districts maintain a strong set of internal controls over financial reporting. This is tested during our annual financial audit. If not, the maximum rating we could receive would be a C. Indicator 19 is new and is reporting that all required notices and postings were made on the district's website. Also new is the final indicator, number 20, which placed a requirement on administration to discuss property values and the use of such on the funding formulas during the board meeting prior to adopting the annual budget. BISD passed all financial competence indicators, earning 20 out of 20 points. And then Brazosport ISD has once again received the highest achievable rating. The information provided by School First system will guide us in our continued efforts to utilize each tax dollar to maximize quality learning opportunities for every student in BISD. This does mark the 19th consecutive year that Brazosport ISD has received the highest rating possible. BISD did receive an A for superior achievement, passing all critical indicators and ceiling indicators. Our superior rating was achieved as a collaborative effort, and I'd like to thank our entire finance team, our human resource team, all of our campus and department budget owners, our principals, and our compliance and data quality department responsible for the submission to TEA. We are proud of this rating as it demonstrates strong financial management by Brazosport ISD Board of Trustees and Administration and solid stewardship of tax dollars. This is a public hearing, so at this time I'd be happy to answer any questions from the board or from the audience.
Any questions from the board?
Well, like indicator 13, the administrative ratio, which we are under the state requires, so that's always comes up as a question. And then number 20, I'm sure I'm glad they added that, so that would force us to look at property values before we set a budget.
Yeah. Novel idea.
Crazy question.
Yeah, I thought 20 was a question. interesting question, I won't use the word crazy, but interesting question, and one, also, diving into or go back, maybe it was 6 there, I guess, sorry, I was thinking that was starting over. Change in fund balance is less than 25% decrease, thought that was interesting too.
Yeah, and there's a kind of a safe catch for that one. If you do have a rapid decline in fund balance, then as long as you have assigned and unassigned fund balance that exceeds 75 days of cash on hand for your operating budget, then you can also pass that indicator.
Did they give any context to why or the justification behind any of these? Or is it just this is the new one, deal with it?
I don't know about number 6. I mean, I could speculate that there was conversation during the 87th legislative session around school district fund balances, but this was implemented prior to that.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they're,
But that was
I'd be
more on the
guessing.
increase side rather than the decrease side.
Yeah.
All that discussion at that state level was, we were.
I can tell you some districts that don't follow their property taxes, I mean, due to the complexity of the funding formulas, have seen rather large settle-ups, which can be pretty, scary at year end. And so I think the intent behind it is to create some transparency throughout the process and some indicators that.
But we don't have any control over those values and what gets protested and settled and goes to court and hearings and all that either, though, so it's not really something we have control over, so.
But we have control over the values that we use in the funding formulas that calculate the amount of state aid payments that come into us throughout the year. So the cash flow issue for a lot of districts, and then a settle-up issue from the state. So the state doesn't want to overpay us, throughout the year and then us have a big settle-up payment back to them. So the accuracy of the values we're using in the calculations are important.
Do we get a at-risk number when they give us our numbers in July or August there, whenever they give us those final numbers? Do they get us an at-risk or if that's protested or in settlements or whatever it may be?
So I have the ones that are still under protest.
Yeah.
So I have the ones that are unprotested and then the values of the protested
And I assume
ones.
we just apply some type of percentage,
Pretty small.
10%, whatever,
And we
reduction,
use
whatever.
when we do the budget, we use the collection percentage that we can play with as well. So I try to use the full value, just
And then
so
you
that
get
it
off of
follows all the
yeah.
way through, and then I adjust the collection percentage, which is, I think, 97,
Yeah.
and then if Mr. Darlow comes and presents, we're right at the 100% mark. So there is some flexibility in the percentages of collection to adjust for that.
The one, you're right, 20 is an interesting one too from a, but I didn't even think about the backwards of that, people that aren't accounting for that properly and then having to adjust numbers halfway through some year, October, November, December, making massive adjustments, settlements and things change. Yeah.
And the surprise that
Use
you
the wrong
bring
number.
to the board.
Yeah, 100%. Interesting. Good job.
Any other questions from the board? From the audience? All right, thank you, ma'am. Hearing none, we will now close our public meeting. Next item we have on the agenda is our consent agenda. Are there any items requested to be pulled from the consent agenda? If not, then do I have a motion to approve as presented?
I so moved. I second.
Moved by Patty and seconded by Ms. Cuellar. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by nay. And that carries. Next item we have on our agenda are action items. Our first is consider the approval of the audited financial report for the year that ended August 31st, 2021. Ms. Kelly?
Good evening again. Tonight, it is my pleasure to introduce Mr. Wade Whitlow, who is a former Brazosport High School graduate here tonight as an audit partner with KML LLC, the independent audit firm that the BISD Board of Trustees hires to review our annual financial report. He will review the August 31st, 2021 year-end audit report for board approval tonight. A copy is included in your board book, and I'll also pass out a hard copy for you to review. So at this time, I'll turn it over to Mr. Whitlow.
Thank you, Rebecca. Good evening, board. With me tonight also is Jenna Coulter. She's the in charge that leads the engagement. So a lot of the work that goes into the audit, she has a big hand in, so just wanted to point her out as well. Well, to put a bow on the financial piece from the presentation Rebecca just did, You know, we had another successful audit this year. Every year I come in and let y'all know that BISD sets the standard for BISD sets the standard from an auditing standpoint. We can come in and we do our work. The staff, Rebecca, Kelly, and everyone around the district is ready and prepared for us, and that makes our job easier to come in and get the audit done and get out of everyone's hair, because you don't want a bunch of pesky auditors hanging around all week. So a big thank you to Rebecca and everyone within the district for having everything ready for us this year. Within the audit report, there's 3 letters that we're issuing. The first letter is our opinion on the financial statements. We're issuing an unmodified opinion, so that lets the readers know that the financial information is both materially and factually correct. The second letter, which is back in the federal award section, is our report on internal control over financial reporting. So, as a reminder, we as auditors come in and we look at the controls that are in place for the district. And we test those controls through transaction testing when we're out here. If we find any deficiencies in internal control that rise to the level to be included in this letter, either as a material weakness or a significant deficiency, we do so. Now, we're not issuing an opinion on the effectiveness of the controls, but if we identify deficiencies, we disclose those there. I'm happy to report that there were no deficiencies of any kind reported within that letter. So that's a clean letter that we're issuing with the audit. The third letter is our opinion over major federal programs for compliance testing in accordance with the Single Audit Act. We're issuing an unmodified opinion on those as well. Also, we did not report any deficiencies over internal control over compliance, so that's also a clean letter. We had 3 major federal programs this year that we tested. One was the Child Nutrition Grant Cluster. The second was the Coronavirus Relief funding that a portion of it was passed through from the state, and then the local governments also passed through some of their funds to the school district. And the third was the Esser money that was received. So Esser 1 and Esser 3 are included within this audit. We had no findings of any sort with any of those programs. So from a compliance standpoint, those were clean that we're reporting on. One thing to just keep in mind, or more of a communication to the board, is the Esser funding is it's designated as a high-risk program from the federal government. So what that means is, even though we tested Esser this year, we're going to have to pick that program up again next year. The federal government's requiring us with these COVID funds that they deem as high-risk programs. If they meet our auditing thresholds, regardless if there was no findings in the prior year, we still have to test those. So just to make the board aware that with the funding that's being spent in the fiscal year 22, that program will rise back up to that level where we'll have to test that again this upcoming year. A couple other things within the report. There was one accounting standard that was implemented this year that affects only the presentation of the financial statements, and it's just the one financial statement related to the fiduciary funds, and it's related to the student activity funds. The implementation of this standard did not change the way that the district has the control environment surrounding those funds. It didn't change what the district already had implemented. It's really just a presentation piece within the financial report. The last thing, the budget and actuals that are disclosed within the report, we're reporting no negative variances in there. So everything that we're reporting related to the budgets is clean from our perspective. That's all I have, and I'll be glad to take any questions if anyone has any.
Any questions from the board?
from the audience? Thank you, Ms. Whitlow.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wade.
So at this time, administration recommends that the Board of Trustees approve the 2021 audit report as presented by the certified public accounting firm KMSL LLC.
Do you have a motion?
Make a motion to approve. I'll second.
Chris.
It's been moved by Chris, seconded by Scott. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by nay. That carries. Thank you. Next item that we have on our action item is action item B, the resolution to discontinue participation with the TRS Active Care. Mr. Kirshner.
Good evening. It is my pleasure to be here tonight to share information with you regarding administration's review of employee health care benefit options available to Brazosport ISD employees. During the 87th legislative session, Senate Bill 1444 was passed, which provides an option for participating districts to exit the TRS Active Care system. Per the Senate bill, districts must make this decision and notify TRS Active Care no later than December 31st, 2021, if they choose to exit the healthcare system. Any district who chooses to exit the healthcare system will remain active through August 31, 2022, and they will not be able to re-enter the healthcare system again until 5 full plan years. This bill has also forced districts who are offering competing healthcare plans through their districts of innovation to choose either the alternate plan or TRS. However, they can no longer continue to offer both. Brazosport ISD has participated in a series of meetings and feedback sessions that TRS Active Care has hosted regarding their efforts to improve the plan options and overall cost of the plan. In the most recent meeting, TRS Active Care communicated their plan to regionalize healthcare rates. On the table shown, you will see that some regions will have a decrease in their premiums by as much as 21%, while others will have an increase in premiums as high as 12%. Based on this information, Brazosport ISD and Region 4 will have a minimum increase in healthcare premiums of 6% for the 22-23 plan year. As part of our review of the healthcare plans, we had an opportunity to review claims information for our district's plans for the past 3 years. Focusing on the most recent plan year, you will see that the first bar chart shows the comparison of premiums paid versus claims paid for the most recent year. The plan had a loss ratio of 138%. The center pie chart shows the prescription claims, which are approximately 25% of the overall claims total. The third chart on the right compares total claims and the amount of high-cost claims. Claims are considered high cost if their total exceeds $50,000. You will see that the high-cost claims for 2021, shown in light blue, total approximately 53% of total claims. The data analysis was shared with us as part of our broker evaluation process. HR and Business Services met with 2 brokers to discuss healthcare plans that were feasible for Brazosport ISD. The 2 brokers we met with were FBMC, who is our current broker and for our supplemental benefits, and Higginbotham, who recently acquired FBS. After review, the ISD administration further evaluated the data and healthcare options provided by Higginbotham and FBS. Ms. Monica Leatherman and Mr. James Hoffman, Mr. Hoffman is also a former Brazosport ISD student, is with us tonight from Higginbotham and FBS. Thank you both. With the support of FBS, the Brazosport ISD loss ratio was compared to other districts across the state, with districts B through F coming from Region 4 and 6. As you can see, some districts are experiencing a loss ratio as high as 318%, while others have loss ratios as low as 81%. The challenge with TRS Active Care System is that there's not an avenue for participating districts to take the steps to directly impact their loss ratio. For example, employee wellness program or provider and facility partnership are a common strategy to reduce a plan's overall claims experience. However, with the current structure, those efforts would not directly provide relief to premiums paid by Brazosport ISD and its employees. While regional healthcare rates are a step in the right direction, even this step will not allow these strategies to directly impact Brazosport ISD. Higginbotham and FBS provided a healthcare plan option that districts are currently using across the state of Texas. The healthcare plan is referred to as Tshcp, or Texas School Health Benefits Program. Tshcp is led by a board of directors who also lead districts across the state and currently offer these plans within their own districts. Newly added to the board is a representative from Goose Creek ISD who is also located in Region 4. Tshcp offers quality healthcare plans while being conscious of cost and understand the challenges created within the TRS active care system. Offering Tshcp is a journey for districts to eventually offer customized plans or self-funded healthcare plans to best meet the employee needs. At your seat, you have a set of documents that includes a plan overview of the 4 healthcare options Tshcp offers. The 2 plans on the first page are also referred to Aetna Signature Plans, which are on the Aetna network and closely compare to the plans available currently with TRS Active Care. One drastic difference that is important to all of our employees is that Tshcp Aetna Signature Plans do not require an employee to name their primary care physician or require referrals for the specialist. However, most of the other plan structure designs are similar. The last 2 plans are called Managed Care Plans, and these plans offer both high deductible and copay plan options for Brazosport ISD. The second document at your seat is a cost comparison of the plans offered by TRS Active Care and Tshcp. This document was also shared to Brazosport ISD employees in a survey that was sent out last week. The goal of this survey was to inform employees of the legislative changes and the healthcare plans the ISD administration was currently reviewing. 10% of our employees participated, which is average according to FBS, and the feedback was extremely positive. As you can see on the pie chart shown, 89% of the employees who participated in the survey wanted the BISD Board of Trustees to consider exiting TRS Active Care to be able to offer other employee health care benefit options. I would like to take a moment and share with you some of the comments we received from our employees. I have 2 for you. First comment is please consider plan options that offer lower premiums and similar or better coverage. And the last, with the current plans offered by the district, we save money by not having insurance and paying cash for our health care expenses because that's cheaper than the current premium. The new premiums being considered are lower, which would possibly enable us to purchase medical insurance for our family for the first time in 8 years. As you can see, it's important that the ISD offer quality health plans and that employees feel are affordable, more affordable than our current health plan offerings. In addition to the health care plan comparison that was shared with employees, this example was also shared. This example compares the 3 TRS Active Care plans and the 4 Tshcp plans and the cost the employee would experience if they were having a baby. Monthly premium is included here for reference, but not included in the total cost that you will see in the most right-hand column. You will see that TRS Active Care High Deductible Plan and Tshcp Aetna High Deductible Plan have similar costs totaling almost $6,000 in out-of-pocket expenses. You also see that the Tshcp copay plan has an out-of-pocket expense of approximately $1,300 for the same procedure. This example was eye-opening to me And this type of education will be beneficial to Brazosport ISD employees as they explore the right healthcare plan for themselves and their families. David, thank you. I would like to thank Ms. Rebecca Kelly for her participation with this evaluation, and I'm pleased to make the following recommendation on behalf of administration. It is Brazosport ISD's goal to ensure quality health care benefits are available to all employees while being cost effective. Administration recommends the Board of Trustees execute the board resolution to discontinue participation with TRS Active Care effective September 1st of 2022. Authorize the superintendent or designee to submit notification to TRS to discontinue participation in TRS Active Care, and authorize the superintendent or designee to select FCS as broker and consultant to administer employee health care plans with Texas School Health Benefits Program. At this time, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have, and Freedom of Welcome and FCS may also assist if necessary.
Any questions from the board?
Yeah, did we get any other comments from the last one I saw that was sent out in the board update was the 10th? Did we get any more?
We had some additional submissions, but there were not additional comments added.
So, I guess the question, I finally see the cost down here on page 3. So, you know, it is slightly less, except for the employee and family, but, are we sure that, you know, the doctors, the medical community is going to be able to, will be able to go like we are now, like the employees will be able to go now?
Yes, so
The
Aetna,
hospitals and...
yes, Aetna has a vast network, and so Aetna providers are included. We have other large employers in the area who are also on the Aetna network. My team has actually received a list from Blue Cross Blue Shield of the primary care physicians that are currently named by our employees. That's required, and we've been checking those. And as of this afternoon, we have not ran across any providers that are not on the list. There could be some variations with specialists. However, when an employee is able to sit down to review health care benefits, a different plan might give them a different option and a larger, view of available doctors.
Do we know of any other districts that are participating in this for this year? I mean, it's relatively new.
Yeah, Angleton, most nearby, is participating in this plan this year. Monica, do you want to share some districts you work with, please?
Sure. Good afternoon, Board. Currently participating in the Tshcp are about 158 districts across the state of Texas. In the Region 4 and 5 area, we have Angleton, like Christy said, Galveston ISD, Goose Creek ISD, Barbers Hill, Friendswood, Sealy, Royal, Beaumont in Region 5. We've got districts like Frisco and Denton and Texarkana, very large districts. Currently, 25,000 members are being insured through the Tshcp plans.
Any other questions from the board? From the audience?
Just for clarification, sorry, jumping in the last second there. But if we go out of TRS, we have to stay out for 2 years, correct? 5 years, all right? 5 years, and then if something was to change, we could change our time. But otherwise, this is the contract that if we go with them, I guess we still haven't made that final decision yet, but this is just to get out of TRS. But I assume there are, that's not a 5-year contract, or that's a yearly contract, I would assume, or how's that contract
So
work?
those rates are annual. The rates for the plan are annual.
I understand the rates for the plan are annual, but obviously for them as a broker.
So is our relationship,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, we do have a recommendation. Do I hear a motion to approve?
I so moved.
All right.
Which one are we doing first? Are we doing,
All three.
she already done all three of them?
We did
The
all in
recommendation
one.
to leave
Can you put the recommendation back
Yeah,
on.
'cause it was so long, that's why I said I would move. Okay, which part do we need to do first?
So
Is it
all
all
three,
in
if
one?
we approve the resolution to notify TRS Active Care
Right,
and to
and
select
authorize
FPS
them.
as our broker in our consultant.
It was all in one, yeah.
Alright.
So I move we discontinue participation with TRS and I authorize superintendent, I move that we authorize superintendent to submit notification and also to select FBS as broker and consultant.
Alright, it's been moved, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Cuellar. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And all opposed by nay. Alright, that carries.
Thank you.
Saves you money.
All right, yeah.
Thank you.
Our next action item is action item C, to consider the adoption of a resolution in order for a single member board redistricting. Kelly?
You gonna get the kid yet? Jump in to keep me legal over here. Make me nervous when the attorney comes up to the podium. All right, good evening. After several months of planning and discussions, tonight it's my pleasure to present the redistricting plan for single-member board districts. We will start with a recap of the census data, the change analysis, review the redistricting criteria, and then discuss the proposed map included in the redistricting plan. While our Board of Trustees make governance decisions based on decisions that are best for the entire Brazosport ISD, board members are elected to their positions based on single-member districts. Brazosport ISD has 7 single-member districts that must be evaluated every 10 years with the federal census population data. The Texas Education Code Section 11.052I requires a school district to redivide single-member districts if the census data indicates that the population of the most populous district exceeds the population of the least populous district by more than 10%. The district has engaged legal representation and the professional services of a demographer to aid in the redistricting process. On October 11th, at the October 11th board meeting, our attorney and the demographer presented the change analysis between the 2010 and the 2020 census report that indicated the total population differential between the largest and the smallest populous districts was at 48.6% based on the current maps and the 2020 census data. So at that point, Brazosport ISD is legally required to redistrict. Redistricting must be completed by February 6th, which is 90 days before the May 7th election date. While we legally have until February 6th, the first day to apply for a place on the ballot is January 19th, so we did set a timeline to ensure that the proposed maps meet the redistricting criteria, and that we allow ample opportunity and time for the public to make comments and ask questions, but also for us to be able to finalize the maps and the redistricting plan before the first day to file for a place on the ballot. Here's a little closer look at the timeline. In anticipation of the process, the district did engage legal counsel and a demographer early in the fall, and when we received the census information in September, began to evaluate that data and the process. On October 11th, we had the first board meeting to present the legal overview and the demographic change analysis. Then on October 25th, the board met again to discuss redistricting criteria and reviewed some preliminary maps that would bring the variance below the 10% threshold. Based on the redistricting criteria, some additional maps were drawn and reviewed by legal counsel, the demographer, and district administration. And then on November 15th, the board met again to consider a single proposed map, at which time administration posted that map and the related information to the district's website and scheduled the public hearing for additional stakeholder questions and comments. The proposed map was further reviewed by a statistician at Rice University that unfortunately could not substantiate or support the retrogression of the Hispanic voting age and citizen voting age population at less than 50% for single-member District 2. Therefore, we introduced a new map, which is now known as Plan 5, and we reviewed that as well at the public hearing. That has since been posted to our website to allow for additional time for the community to review and ask questions and be here tonight. This is the map that we will be taking action on as part of our redistricting plan this evening. This is just a copy of the current district boundaries. The demographer loaded the new 2020 census data into these current maps, which did contain 3 population groups: total population, voting age population, and citizens voting age population. And then based on the analysis from 2010 to 2020, Brazosport ISD added 1,174 people. The total district population is now 61,924. Before redistricting, the total population differential between the most and least populous SMDs did exceed the 10%. The 48.6% is where we would be. And then before redistricting, the most populous SMD was 5, which was the same as it was in 2010. And then before redistricting, the least populous SMD changed from SMD 4 in 2010 to SMD 2 in 2020. Redistricting is required. While there are 2 main areas or criteria that we have to consider when redistricting, which are getting below the 10% variance and then avoiding retrogression of minority voting groups, there are other criteria that we can consider. The proposed map, map 5, equalizes the population by reducing the total deviation between the largest and the smallest to under the 10% variance. The proposed map, map 5, includes contiguous and more identifiable natural boundaries that keep neighborhoods and city boundaries better aligned, not quite as compact and contiguous as we might make sense to us all, but it cleans up the natural boundaries as much as possible while also ensuring the voting strength of the Hispanic voting population in both SMD 2 and SMD 4. So here's a side-by-side of the current map, which is on the left, and the proposed map 5 on the right-hand side. This map has been reviewed by legal counsel and the statistician and equalizes the population to reduce the total deviation to under the 10% variance. This proposed map 5 includes a plan that cleans up the natural boundary lines and that are more recognizable and with natural points. The boundaries between 7 and 1, I guess we can go through those. I kind of outlined them here. Some of them are going to be repetitive because I did break them out by district, and so I'll try not to hit any of them twice. But District 1 loses the Jones Creek area south of the Brazos River east of 2004, as this will now be combined with District 7. District 1 gains the Lake Jackson subdivision around Roberts Elementary, the Post Oak and Cedar Street loop, which was previously in District 3. District 1 also loses the Lake Jackson area just north of Oyster Creek. It was like one street south of Tulip Street. This will now be combined with District 6. And District 2 gains the Klutz section of College Park subdivision, which was previously in 5. It gains the Clute area east of Dixie Drive and a portion of the Lake Bend subdivision in the Brazoswood High School area, which was previously in 3. It loses some of the Stratton Ridge area east of Business 288 and south of Stratton Ridge, as that will be combined with 7. And then it loses the Lake Jackson section east of Flags Lake Drive, that Garland Drive area, and then a section just south of Plantation, kind of that Dixie Drive area, as it will be combined with 3. And then it does lose the section south of Highway 332, which is an industrial area that has 0 voting population. It makes more sense to add that to District 4. And then District 3 loses the Lake Jackson section north of Oyster Creek and east of Willow Drive. This will now be in District 5. Gains the Lake Jackson section north of Oyster Creek, just east of Yopon and west of Willow, kind of south of Southern Oaks, that little loop, which was previously in 5. And then District 4 gains the Freeport section south of 2nd Street, north of 5th Street, just west of Velasco, was previously in 7. And then also in that same neighborhood, District 4 gains a section of the neighborhood south of 5th Street, north of 9th Street, and east of Velasco Street. So just a little bit of reconfiguration down there in that neighborhood as we had to add population to District 4. And then District 5 loses the Lake Jackson, Banyan Drive section just west of Yopon, as that will now be in District 6. And then District 5 gains Lake Jackson section south of 2004, east of Yopon, west of Old Angleton Road, which is kind of right there behind Family Fitness. There was a little bit of reconfiguration. So 5 will gain that. It was previously in 6. And then 6 and 7, those are all repeats. So presented here is the demographic data for the proposed map. Based on the total population, single-member districts 2 and 4 remain majority Hispanic by total population, greater than 50%, with single-member District 2 remaining over 50% for voting age population and 46.1% citizen voting age population. SMD 4 will maintain both voting and citizen voting age population greater than 60%. There was a significant amount of effort and discussion surrounding the need to increase the total population in both SMD2 and SMD4, while also maintaining the opportunity status for the Hispanic voting age population. There was some emphasis placed on changing SMD4 as minimally as possible to ensure we do not disrupt the voting power of the Hispanic population. While the same discussions were had around SMD2, our main consideration for SMD2 was ensuring we maintained greater than 50% Hispanic total population, as well as greater than 50% voting age population. While there is a slight decline in these percentages from 2010, these were two of the smallest SMDs, so we had to add overall population while also maintaining the integrity of the current boundaries and the constituents that create the voting stream for the Hispanic population. And so at this time, I'll be happy to answer any questions. Administration does recommend that the Board of Trustees adopt the attached resolution and that the Board President and Secretary be authorized to execute the resolution and other documents necessary to implement the plan for redistricting. And before we have discussion, is there anything else, Ms. McBride, that you would like to add?
That was perfect.
All right. Woo! All right.
Any
Happy to
questions
answer
from the
any
board?
questions.
Nice spreadsheet.
Thank you, Mr. Atkins.
Finally had that much to read.
Questions from the board, comments?
No, I think, this has been a lot of effort. It's been nice to have some more squaring off, but that's impossible at this point, so we'll let somebody else 10 years down the road handle the next one, so.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for your input.
My second one.
You guided us all down a trail we weren't real sure about. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any questions from the audience? All right, hearing none, then we do have a recommendation from the administration. Do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion to approve.
Moved by Mr. Atkins, need a second?
And sign.
Second by Mr. Reinhardt. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by nay. All right, that carries. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for all the help and support. Thank you. I'll be in touch. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your patience.
Next item we have on the agenda is, under action item is D, to consider the purchase of approximately 4.69 acres of unimproved land located off of Highway 36 at Weldon Road, Missouri County, identification number 150479. Ms. Kelly.
Yes. I'll wait for David to set the presentation up there.
It won't advance.
It's not, it's still showing the previous presentation.
David must not be.
Give him a couple more seconds. All right. Good evening. The following is in accordance with CDB Legal. It's my pleasure to present the consideration for the purchase of approximately total of just over 18 acres total between the two purchases this evening in Jones Creek. The 2019 bond program included 18, David, will you click for me? Thank you. The 2019 bond program included $18.7 million to construct a replacement campus for Stephen F. Austin Elementary in Jones Creek. The project originally bid in March of 2020 and was out to bid when the COVID pandemic hit. Pricing came back nearly $5 million over budget, at which time the project was placed on hold. The project was rebid in April of 2021, and while the construction documents were out to bid, we discovered that the location of the site of the current campus was now in a floodplain A, which would mean we would have to construct the new campus at an elevation of 15.5 feet, raising the elevation of that site 5.5 to 8 feet above. Those floodplain A federal floodplain maps were released in January of 2021, so created some significant site challenges for the construction of a new campus in Jones Creek on that site. So with the requirement to elevate, we would have to mitigate or add an equivalent amount of detention for every cubic yard of dirt used for the site elevation of the new campus. So administration reviewed multiple options with the Board of Trustees and presented those. So I'll recap those briefly. Option 1 was to elevate the building and mitigate per the new floodplain requirements. The preliminary cost estimate, in addition to the construction contract, would be just under $1.5 million, plus we would have to acquire an additional 7 acres on the adjacent site to have enough land to be able to meet the detention requirements. So cost and kind of landlocked there. Option 2 and 3 were to redesign to a more compact 3-story building or to raise the building on piles. Both of these options did reduce the detention and mitigation requirements, but unfortunately are cost prohibitive at over $2 million each, in addition to the contract for construction. So option 4 is to use funds to renovate and add on to the existing building. While that's still an option, the district remains committed to building a new state-of-the-art facility to replace the existing school in Jones Creek. So we are currently exploring option 5, which would be to acquire a new site outside of the floodplain A. Administration has worked with Jones Creek officials and have identified a piece of property that would be outside of the floodplain elevation of the current campus. The location is off of Highway 36 between Weldon and Smith Roads. Brazoria County Appraisal District Property ID 150479 is 4.69 acres, and then Brazoria County Appraisal District ID 597616 is 13.981 acres, which would give us a total of 18.671 acres. You can see on the map on the right-hand side a rough idea of the existing design and how that would fit onto this proposed site. The district's architects and engineers will begin working to redesign the parking, stacking, septic, and detention to fit more appropriately on this new site. The district will also obtain a survey, a geotech report, and an environmental study during the due diligence period of the purchase contract prior to closing. So at this time, administration recommends that the board consider the purchase of Brazoria County Appraisal District ID 150479 and authorize the Chief Financial Officer to negotiate the final terms and enter an agreement with Mr. Campbell to purchase the subject property located off of Highway 36 at Weldon Road, pursuant to the terms discussed in closed session, and then further authorize the Chief Financial Officer to conduct the reasonable and necessary due diligence related to the property and enter other agreements necessary to finalize the transaction. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Question?
No, and I'm sure it's just a typo, but I would be sure that it's Gardner Campbell instead of Campbell Gardner.
Yes, sir, I caught it.
I don't know if that's on any document or not.
It's not.
Mr. Schwerner?
Can you go back a couple slides to the map there? The one on the right there shows a little jaunt out to the right, the yellow boundary. We're not getting all that to the right, are we?
That's the Weldon Road highlighted?
No, the yellow boundary that you have on this one?
Right here? Yeah.
No, the other side, on the right. No, sorry. Yeah, right there.
Yeah, so right now,
summer, and right now, we won't get that
Okay,
summer.
all right, I just
And
wanted
so,
to, okay.
started some conversations with this landowner, because ideally,
Just get
we would
access.
like to have access to Smith Road.
Okay.
He owns the house that's right there, and so, you know, he's not gonna want the school too close to his house, I'm sure, but, we will have those conversations as well.
Where's the on the property? Right here. Oh, that's it, okay, gotcha.
And we can get a cut into Weldon currently?
Yeah, we're working through that.
Okay.
Any other questions?
And I asked this question earlier. The architect is going to be sure that our footprint fits on this land, right?
Yeah, that we'll actually gain some efficiencies with the layout here. We were working around, on the current site, we were working, you know, around the current septic and the tank, the water tank and stuff that was there. And then also trying to work around the new campus when we started this process. And so with a brand new undeveloped lot, we'll actually have some opportunities to create some efficiencies to the overall site layout, hopefully saving some dollars to get the construction down within the budget. And so they are currently reviewing it, and we will have a modified site plan before we move forward with closing.
Have we been able to get any contact with the state on 36 cuts?
Not yet. We will have to work with the state on the drainage, because we'll have to tie into the drainage ditch there. If we can avoid access in and out of the stacking lanes, then that would help. But anything that ties into right there will have to go through TxDOT, and could take some time.
They're so reasonable.
So this is showing the access from 36, right?
Yeah, because that's just the current site picked up, so yes, that will be redesigned, if at all possible.
So the hope would be to not have any access off of 36?
Correct.
From Weldon to
We'll have to
Smith.
tie drain. My understanding from initial architect and engineers is we will have to tie drainage into it, but
Yeah.
if we can avoid access, that will expedite TxDOT approvals.
Or if there's a second cut into, I don't know if that's Weldon that tees back down further south there.
It does, yes.
It L's back down.
I would
If we
imagine,
get a second cut over there, we'd be all right too.
I would imagine that we're going to probably have to deal with TxDOT anyway. If we don't have a direct access, we're going to have to deal with them about traffic signals, because we're having traffic on to and from, getting off the road. We're
Left
going to
turn and all
have
that.
to have turn signals and things like that to make it safe.
Is there a median there, or a chicken lane or anything?
No.
Not now, no.
Yeah.
They just drive 150 mile an hour zone.
But that's also part of the 36 expansion, which is
Is it?
going to 4 lanes.
The expansion's on the north side of 36, so it won't cut into the property that we're acquiring. I
Right.
did confirm that, yes.
But
Yes.
it's going from a 2-lane to a 4-lane.
Getting access to Smith Street there would be important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It won't be an access road that we're asking for them to go off of this.
No.
I think it wouldn't hurt just to ask them to see, because if they go into their design process for that south side of the freeway or road expansion, that could help us both out knowing what, so we don't have to pay extra for something they've already done. I think that's a big.
Or at least a right-only turn into there. I know most of the Jones Creek people, I assume, are coming from the right, coming from the east, or most residents to the left. Are they local?
They're both.
It's gonna be dangerous anyway if we don't have some kind of traffic control there, so we might have to do something.
The best thing is to use the side roads instead of using.
That's what they were using.
Yeah.
Still got to get on the freeway.
We still have a long way to go before we get this thing under construction,
Oh,
but
yeah.
we are excited to make some progress. We appreciate the work of Marshall Tidwell and that community to help us try to find a site that is outside of the floodplain, and really, we remain committed to building this site, this new campus for Jones Creek. And so we're excited to be here and present this, but we do still have a lot of steps to go before we will get there.
So you don't think we'll need an access road off of the highway?
Or they're gonna try.
We're gonna avoid it if at all possible.
Yeah, 'cause,
One step at a time.
No.
Any other questions from the board? From the audience? All right, hearing none, we do have a recommendation to consider the purchase of the approximately 4.69 acres of unimproved land located off of 36 at Weldon Road, ID number 150479. Do I hear a motion? I'll make that motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll say.
Second by Ms. Cuellar. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And all opposed by...
Go ahead. I was just gonna be sure that in the motion, all the things that Rebecca indicated, that the geo survey and all that stuff be involved in that, not a blanket. Be sure we have that specified what we want in there.
It'll all be included.
Yes. All right. All those opposed by name? All right, that carries then. Thank you, Ms. Rebecca. While you're there, the next one is to consider the purchase of approximately 13.981 acres of improved land located off 36 at Weldon Road, ID number 597616, with all of the appropriate measures, just like the one we just passed. Ms. Kelly?
All right, I'm not gonna take you back through the entire presentation. I did previously show that there were multiple properties. The bottom two circles are now the next action item that make up 13.981 acres, as represented on the Brazosport County Appraisal District ID 797616. So at this time, the board will consider the purchase of that, and administration recommends that the board consider the purchase of Brazosport County Appraisal District ID 597616 and authorize the chief financial officer to negotiate the terms and enter an agreement with Ms. Donna Moore to purchase the property pursuant to the terms discussed in closed session, and further authorize the chief financial officer to conduct the reasonable and necessary due diligence related to the property and enter any other agreements necessary to finalize the transaction.
Have both of them.
Yes.
They work with it.
Yeah, it's all or nothing.
Yeah.
All or nothing. Any questions from the audience? All right, hearing none, I will again make the motion to consider the purchase of the 13.981 acres of improved land located off of Highway 36 at Weldon Road, ID number 597616. All those in favor, second. Second by Jerry. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And all opposed by nay? All right, that carries as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next item that we have on our agenda, thank you, Ms. Kelly, are our reports. Report 9A of the 21-22 District Improvement Plan First Quarter. Mr. Redden.
Yes. Good evening. In alignment with board policy BQ local and each district goal, it is my pleasure to deliver the report on the first quarter progress made on the district improvement plan. You have a copy of the first quarter review in your board book. Here we go. The district improvement plan, required under Chapter 11 of the Texas Education Code, is a comprehensive plan to improve the district in each of the 5 areas covered by our district goals. The 2021-22 plan has a total of 13 performance objectives and 70 strategies to support the district's 5 goals. The board adopted House Bill 3 goals for early childhood literacy, early numeracy, and college, career, and military readiness are included in the plan under District Goals 1. Performance objectives that support District Goal 1 address improving early literacy and numeracy skills, closing learning gaps, increasing college, career, and military readiness, and the continued implementation of the curriculum audit recommendations. Goal 2 performance objectives address the health, safety, and social, emotional, and mental health needs of students. And the performance objective that supports Goal 3 addresses improving customer service across the district. Goal 4 performance objectives address improving the technology infrastructure and using supplemental funding to support special programs, the overall instructional program, and efforts to close learning gaps. Performance objectives for Goal 5 address staff recruitment, support, development, and retention. During each formative review, strategies that support the accomplishment of performance objectives are evaluated as discontinued, no progress, some progress, considerable progress, and accomplished. Discontinued means that the strategy has been discontinued for the year. No progress means that no progress toward accomplishing the strategy's intended outcome has been made. This is most commonly seen with strategies that are implemented according to a specific time frame. Some progress means that 5 to 50% of progress has been made toward accomplishing the strategy's intended outcome. Considerable progress means that from 50 to 95% of progress has been made toward accomplishing the strategy's intended outcome, and accomplished means that the strategy outcome was met. This graphic illustrates the progress made toward accomplishing intended outcomes during the first quarter. Specifically, 0% were discontinued, 6% were rated as no progress, 37% were rated as some progress, 44% were rated as considerable progress, and 13% were rated as accomplished. Of the 22 strategies that support the 5 performance objectives under District Goal 1, 5 were completed or accomplished. Considerable progress was made on 9 of them. Some progress was made on 7 strategies, and no progress was made on 1. None of the strategies were discontinued. The instructional focus this year is on improving Tier 1 or initial instruction. The 2021-22 Tier 1 priorities were set at the beginning of the school year, and district instructional staff are actively training teachers and monitoring instruction to see that they're being implemented. Students will have a new pathway next year that they can follow to earn CCMR credit when information technology is offered thanks to the Board of Trustees approving the courses for IT in November. To make dual credit accessible to more students, students now have free access to dual credit. Both of these initiatives are designed to increase the opportunities for students to meet CCMR requirements before graduation. Closing learning gaps caused by COVID-19 is a top priority for our district. I'm pleased to tell you that the work done during the first quarter on campuses is ensuring that students are receiving the supplemental support they need to help them improve their math and reading skills. This is being done by providing embedded interventions, tutorials, and special classes. There are 18 strategies that support the 2 performance objectives under District Goal 2. 1 was completed or accomplished. Considerable progress was made on 9 of them. Some progress was made on 8 strategies, and none of the strategies were rated as no progress or discontinued. Performance objectives for Goal 2 call for the implementation of strategies that ensure the health and safety of students and staff in all learning environments, and that support the social and emotional learning needs of students. During the first quarter, required safety training was completed. The substance abuse prevention program, which includes modules on the danger of e-cigarettes, were implemented at secondary schools. The district added 2 behavior technicians and a transition coordinator, to the district behavior team, and counselors are following the BISD Comprehensive Guidance Program, which outlines specific character traits to focus on each month. As a result of the intensive trauma-informed care training and that the district counselors and behavior specialists received over the past 2 years, they are able to continue to offer campus-based training and support to staff on the importance of considering whether a student's actions are a direct result of trauma exposure. With the full return to school this year, the Lift Up Mentoring Program was able to be fully implemented again, and volunteer mentors are meeting with students at campuses all across the district. Also, with the receipt of the Texas Education for Homeless Children and Youth Grant this year, the district was able to expand the partnership with communities and schools by adding Brazosport High School, Brazos Success Academy, Freeport Elementary School, and Stephen F. Austin Elementary School to the list of campuses supported by CIS caseworkers. These caseworkers work with the campus counselors to identify and address the unmet needs of at-risk students. There are 3 strategies that support the 1 performance objective under Goal 3. That objective is to provide de-escalation training and customer satisfaction tools to office staff across the district, resulting in an increase from 81% to 90% customer service rating on the end-of-year parent survey. Only 1 of the 3 strategies was implemented in the first quarter. The remaining 2 will be implemented in the spring. The first strategy was to launch a survey for all frontline staff to identify customer service strengths and weaknesses. Remarkably, 75 frontline staff representing everyone from clerks to principals to transportation workers responded to the survey. Using the results of the survey, the district communications team was able to identify the top 4 needs for training that you see listed on this slide, and that training will commence during the spring semester. District Goal 4 is really a 2-part goal. The first part of the goal states that Brazosport ISD will exercise fiscal responsibility to ensure financial strength, and the second part that the district will provide resources to equip and maintain quality facilities and educational programming. BISD continues to set the standard for the use of technology to support key district initiatives. During the first quarter, fiber circuits were installed throughout the district. The command center, as you will see later, is currently under construction. Quick Alert server and software has been updated, and vape sensors have been ordered to be installed on our high school campuses. And teachers now have access to GoGuardian. All of these strategies are instrumental in ensuring that BISD has buildings and classrooms that are safe and conducive to learning. The second performance objective states that BISD will allocate supplemental funds to support the overall instructional program of the district and to address learning loss. Supplemental funds include Titles 1, 2, 3, and 4, compensatory education funds, funding for the education of students identified as gifted and talented, and supplemental funds received under both Esser 2 and Esser 3 to address learning loss, particularly for our most at-risk students. Campuses and departments are using Esser 2 and 3 and other discretionary funds to support instruction and programming and to address learning loss. Using supplemental funds, the district was also able to add additional pre-kindergarten personnel at Griffith Elementary. A portion of our supplemental funds under Title I Part A are designated to support the learning needs of students who are identified as homeless. The well-being and performance of homeless students is being monitored by counselors, administrators, and our communities and schools caseworkers. There are 10 strategies that support the 3 performance objectives under Goal 5. None were completed or accomplished, but considerable progress was made on 5 of them, some progress on 4, and one of the strategies was rated as no progress. None were discontinued. The 3 performance objectives under Goal 5 are somewhat different, but all support recruiting, developing, and retaining highly effective staff. The first performance objective seeks to ensure that 10 or more student teachers are assigned to the school district for the school year. There are currently 6 student teachers who have been placed in clinical teaching assignments this year, and recruiting efforts to add additional student teachers this spring are actively underway. To support the 6 clinical student teachers, the Talent Acquisition Coordinator, clinical teachers, and mentor teachers are conducting observations of their performance. One of the greatest accomplishments of the first quarter was executing the MOU with Inspire Texas Region 4 and Prepare to Teach, which will lead to adding clinical teachers from those programs next year. The second performance objective seeks to ensure that teachers are receiving high-quality professional development that will support their efforts to improve classroom instruction and student performance. In alignment with the district's professional development plan, all instructional staff are working toward completing year 1 of their professional development pathway. As part of the revision of curriculum documents in the curriculum management plan timeline, considerable progress was made toward revising curriculum documents. Additionally, 3rd grade and new K through 2nd grade teachers are currently completing House Bill 3 Reading Academy modules, which is supporting improved classroom instruction in those grade levels. The third performance objective says that compensatory education funds will be used to provide teachers and prepare professionals who will support improving student performance by providing timely interventions to students at the 2 additional targeted and 4 targeted support and intervention campuses that were identified as part of the 2019 State Accountability. Targeted and additional targeted support campuses are focusing on improving student math and reading performance. This concludes my report on the first quarter of the District Improvement Plan. Since this is a report, board action is not required. I will return in February with the second quarter report. At this time, I'm happy to answer any clarifying questions that you might have.
What's the approximate number of homeless students we got?
I do not know that right now. I can tell you that on an average over the last 4 to 5 years, we've run just at about 100 to 150. We've stayed in that range, but I don't know the exact number right now.
In those that 4 years where you have data? Is it predominantly middle school and high school, or intermediate school and high school, or is there?
Well, it's pretty much spread up and down, to be honest with you. It's spread up and down because we have families that become homeless. There's so many different ways that a student can qualify to be homeless, from living with a grandparent to actually being out on the street. So it varies at the different levels.
We have ways to identify that.
Yes,
correct?
sir, we sure do. At-risk coordinator, Julie Engelking, stays all over it. She runs a spreadsheet, she keeps up with all of them.
Any other questions from the board? Public comment is encouraged. Is there any comments from the audience in regards to Mr. Redden's report?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Up here, since we can hear, please.
Hey, Ron, you can sit right here.
Thank you, you can come up to the mic.
On the customer service, on the training that y'all have with that, with y'all staff, as far as when a parent goes up to a clerk or an assistant principal or whatever staff member, who trains them and tells them, okay, y'all are ready to do that job? Who does that, or do y'all even have training on that? Because a lot of the times I feel like I've worked in the area. From a lot of, I don't take it personal. I've worked in doing social work with people, a lot of people, and I've had people in my face a bunch of times. And all you have to do is, I understand where you're coming from, and not take it personal and not speak out with their feelings. I don't know if you're understanding my question.
Yes, ma'am, I do understand.
Who trains them so they won't be doing that?
The principals are the first ones that are responsible for training them, and then we also have our communications department that trains them also too. In the presentation, there was a survey that we asked those frontline staff, some questions to help customize that training. Thank you for your question.
And who trains like this, like, for example, the superintendent? Who trains them also to not take things personal?
Oh, I don't know if that's a relevant question, but we appreciate the questions that you did ask.
I mean, because I feel like the statement that was made to me here, I mean, without knowing facts, I felt like you took it personal.
Do you have any questions about the presentation?
It was about the presentation, about that's knowing how to handle a situation and knowing how to address a parent. That's what it was right there. So that's why I was asking.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Atkins?
When, under goal 5, when we're talking about the curriculum documents, you indicated that we were working on K through 2 and 3rd. Is that coming?
Well, the curriculum documents would be, where's Brian? There he is, right there. Brian can speak to that, but the curriculum, the academies, or part of the House Bill 3 academies
Right,
that are required, that was the grade 3
that's
and
okay.
the K through 2, but you want to
Okay.
speak to the curriculum
Well,
documents?
that's fine, okay, we'll get back to the curriculum on later.
Yeah, I suspect so.
Any other questions for Mr. Redden regarding his report? From the audience? All right, hearing none, thank you, Mr. Redden.
Thank you.
The next report that we have is our bond planning and construction update. Mr. Dornay?
Good evening. In accordance with Board Policy CV Local, it is my pleasure to present the planning and construction update for the 2014 and 2019 bond programs. As of December 13th for 2014, we've completed 83.93% or in progress. For 2019, total POs issued of 65.94% completed or in progress. This slide shows the current bond project timelines, and this slide shows the current bond projects under construction. This slide shows the Brazosport main campus, the most recent aerial view. This is the front entry of the new main campus. main entry of the auditorium. And this is over at the outdoor dining area, just outside the art room area, and then to the right is, the main entry into the indoor dining commons, and with the field house behind you. This is looking towards the front of the school over by the aquatics and library, what I call the round building, looking into the entry of the classroom area. This is the back of the campus, and if you look on the third floor of the round building, you can see the round lights on the ceiling of the library. That turned out pretty awesome. This is at the main entry, once you get through the vestibule with the administrative offices to the right, and the reception desk, and then the main stairway in the background, and then the trophy case and the new tiled wall on the right. This is a close-up view of the tiled wall and the trophy case. Yeah, again, I say this every time. Once we start doing finishes, the pictures just don't do it justice. It's really pretty incredible. This is the student dining commons with the serving area over to the left, and the big white square on the right-hand side is where graphics will go. This is also in the student commons area with the learning stair, and if you'll notice on the right-hand side, the wall and the ceiling, that is wood with recessed lights. There's just no way to get a good picture of it, but it's pretty impressive. This is one of the life skills rooms. And this is as you enter the aquatics area in the round building on the first floor. This will display some of their fish tanks as you enter that space. And then this is one of the aquatics labs. And this is in the main student corridor. I think we call that Main Street. And that's one of the learning areas where they could break out and have smaller groups in that square glass area up top. It's a pretty cool. We have several of those throughout the building, but that's the only one that kind of juts out into a corridor and it's all glass.
You promised me it's wider than that, right?
Sorry?
You promised me it's wider than that, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we need to get a picture of you doing this in one of those.
Yeah, it's wide, and I can't reach across. This is the lobby of the auditorium with the blue tile on the wall, and then you enter in the center. There's stairs on both sides.
Whoever found that tile should be given a raise. I think it's a cool tile.
Isn't it? It's nice.
It's beautiful.
I picked that.
Yeah.
You picked that?
Oh, that was quick.
She did. This is the control room in the auditorium. And this is as you enter the auditorium, and we finally have the scaffolding down. This is the first time we've been able to show these pictures. That is drywall up in the ceiling and with recessed lights in it. As you get further towards the stage, those lights aren't on, but it also has recessed lights in it as well.
Will folks have to bring lawn chairs, or we're gonna put chairs in there?
There are no chairs.
No chairs?
Is that, will that be the
Standing room only.
ceiling will be painted white or be blue?
It's blue.
It's in blue? Yeah.
That's nice.
And then this is the side view with the stage on the right.
That is real.
It's not only for aesthetics, but it's also for sound. It's gonna be, it was a highly engineered space. And then this is looking from the stage, and then you can see the control booth in the background. And this is the black box theater. And this is back at the main entry in the main stairwell. You can see the blue tiles that have been installed there as well. And when you get to the top of the stairs, you go to you're on the second floor, and that's the administration area, and that glass And this is a typical science lab. This is also on the second floor as you get towards the library. This is also in, as you get towards the library, that's where the librarian's office is, and some other areas. That's also the wood ceiling with the recessed lights in it.
We epoxying most of these floors, I guess?
Not in the library. We're epoxying
hallways?
areas, no.
No?
They'll have LVT flooring, which is a quiet vinyl type flooring that you don't have to wax. We started using that when we started with HOG. And this is in the library. That's the obviously the ceiling, and the black squares you see, that's actually will have ceiling tiles in it, but I kind of like it the way it is. It's kind of a cool look like that.
It is, it's cool design.
The library is going to be very, very impressive.
I love that.
This is one of the two classrooms that are above the main entry.
Be a fight to get that room.
I like it. Okay, over at the new Technology and Resource Center, this is the parking lot addition. This is parallel to Brazosport Drive. This is as you enter the building and get through the vestibule. That's the area where the new restrooms have been added and offices in the background. This is down the corridor with the police department on the right and the technology offices on the left. And this is the new command center and conference room, sorry. When it's not a command center, it'll be utilized as a conference center, as a conference room as well. It's a large room. Where you see those black box squares on the wall, that's where these large monitors will be when they activate it as the command center. And this is one of the large spaces. This is one of the middle spaces between the warehouse and the technology, the tech center, and it's used for technology and part of it's used for warehouse. And then this is in the warehouse area, and over kind of in the center background, you see an open area that goes into the room that I previously showed. It's a large overhead door. Over to Brazosport Tennis, we finally have some concrete that has been poured, and the only thing they have left to do from a site perspective is the parking lot.
Is any refurbishing being done to the courts at all, Alec, or the
No, sir.
courts okay?
The courts were fairly recently done a few years ago. They just need cleaned up.
Glad they're finally getting their own space.
Yeah. And this is kind of looking to the side, and then over to the right is the back of the building, and then the tennis courts right behind it. This is inside the tennis building. That's the coach's office area. Over at Brazosport Baseball, we're finishing up some things on the outside of the building. The fencing's going around the mechanical equipment, and they're about ready to start pouring concrete. We're working on some drainage improvements on the field side of the building. And then this is a view from the field side. Those two openings are the storage room. You can access it from two different sides. And then this is inside the storage room. This is the new press box that finally arrived, and then it's getting brick on the bottom. And then this is a view from out in field looking towards the bleachers and the new press box.
Are they not getting any additional bleachers there? That was
No, sir.
just
That was only softball.
But I think with the way that we kind of redid the foul lines, that the fences were brought in a little bit, I think to accommodate possible future,
over there.
There's one
bleachers
Yeah,
being
we did
down
some,
on both sides.
we did some reconfiguring of the fences. There were several reconfigurations of the fences. It's looking, you know, they're working very hard. A lot of the stuff that's left to do is finishes and things like that, which are really simple in these, concrete block buildings. So the next couple of weeks while we're off on break, it will move very quickly.
Are you having material shortage or difficulty?
On everything. Everything. Right now, especially on phase 4 on these projects, we've been notified that I think it was 2 weeks ago, they notified us that the exterior doors are delayed, and we're looking at March before we get them. So we're putting in temporary doors. Over at Brazosport softball, this is the new field house, and the press box arrived on Friday. This is inside the concession stand. And this is inside the restrooms. They should be placing the toilets and sinks any day. This is looking at the bleachers and the press box. This one gets brick at the bottom as well. And this is out from the field, obviously.
Are we repainting everything blue, I guess, too, light blue, whenever they
No,
go
sir.
through this?
No, sir, all the buildings are being painted gray.
Great.
That way the graphics, when they're put on, they'll show up better. And this is the new outfield fence. Looks great, and we'll be ready for the kids to come practice very soon. I think baseball practice starts on the 22nd of January. And at this time, I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
Alex, on the timeline, the 2019 timeline, have we started any of the planning at all for any of the projects on the Brazosport campus?
Absolutely. We've started planning for all of the Brazosport projects. We're about 50% through right now. We just finished our 50% page turn review of design development drawings.
Any other questions from the board?
And technology and resource completed.
That one, it's not scheduled to be complete until January 31st. We have a delay on the generator, which we can't move the knock over to that building until the generator's in place. But that's now scheduled for the second or third week of January. So it'll take a couple of weeks to connect it and all of that. So it's kind of a moving timeline of when we'll actually move in there. But we've got furniture coming very soon, and we are going to be able to at least put the furniture in one of the warehouse spaces inside the building, and we won't be able to assemble it till we have our certificate of occupancy, but we'll be in good shape.
Will it be conditioned
Yes.
when they put it in there?
Oh, absolutely. I think that, no, the air's not on yet, but it's soon.
Okay.
Alex, when we started Brazosport, we'll start at the new building, but the old building will go down after that, is that correct?
Correct. We have a phased schedule of moving into the new building, and then a second phase is when school actually starts, which changes all the traffic plan and all of that, and the pickup and drop off, because we lose the front of the building. And we'll go through the first half of the year without the use of the front entry of the new school, because the old school will still be there, and we have to tear it down, build all the new parking lots and all the new pickup and drop-off lanes and all of that. It's gonna take some time to do that. And, but we have a route for all the students and parents and staff and that sort of thing for, access to the building.
And we're still ready to open, you think we'll be ready to open in September, by August of 2020?
Oh, absolutely, yes. We will. We're pretty good on material deliveries. Right now, the only big item that we're delayed on is kitchen equipment. And kitchen equipment's always, they try to order it early because it takes a long time in normal times, and then it takes a long time to install and then get started up and that sort of thing. So we're a little delayed on that. we're not there's no question that will not be in place by the time school starts. But I get new notifications every day.
Any other questions or comments from the board, from the audience concerning Mr. Arne's presentation? All right, hearing none, then thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item we have on our agenda under reports are the board committee reports. Each board member to share.
I did attend the volleyball banquet, very well attended. And, you know, it's good to see back getting recognition again. The girls were excited, parents were excited. My old gal buddy grandparent was excited, so it worked out good.
This Saturday morning, this Saturday morning, the 18th, from 9 to 11, I believe, at FIS is Santa's Pancakes with Santa. And that's a good deal. If you have a chance to come out, those kids that are selected, you know, the counselors select kids from each campus that are in need. And then the gifts are purchased through several areas, regions, places. And then Food Nutrition provides pancakes. They're not bad. I sampled one last year. Santa's there to help them put their gifts in the car, the whole 10 yards. So it's really a good thing. If you have an opportunity, it's nothing else, just stop by for 10 or 15 minutes and watch the smiles on kids' faces. It's big time.
Pancakes with Santa.
Yeah, Pancakes with Santa are pretty good. That's another reason to go.
All right. Our next item on our agenda is our work session discussion. Our next regular board meeting is scheduled for January the 24th at 6 o'clock in the new year. Before we move on to executive session, it has been brought to my attention that we have another person who would like to address the board. And so, I don't have a name.
My understanding is Mr. Eugene Howard is here, was signed in by a parent on the wrong line. Mr. Howard was not here when we had in the audience with the individual.
I was called, and I had her.
Thank you, so, if the board wants to allow him to speak at audience with individuals.
You can come forward, Mr. Howard. I'm going to go through my part for audience with individuals. Mr. Atkins will serve as our timekeeper for those requesting to speak. Please note that comments are limited to a maximum of 5 minutes per speaker, with a maximum of 30 minutes total allotted for public comment. Delegations of more than 5 shall appoint a representative to present their views to the board. The board will not entertain negative comments on individual personnel or students in public session. Patrons are encouraged to use appropriate campus and administration channels before bringing concerns to the board, and board members are not allowed to deliberate, discuss, or make decisions regarding any subject that wasn't included on the agenda. Mr. Howard.
Thank you. I won't take, wow, this is kind of loud. I won't take 5 minutes. I'm used to having a 1 minute countdown.
Oh,
3 minutes, so it's all good. I'm here on behalf of myself as a community member of Missouri County, the NAACP, representing our organization as well. And we have great concern on the things that have transpired over the last month, 6 weeks, with Clayton and other children. And I only mentioned his name because it was in the press, and you know, I know how that goes. And I had a meeting with Mr. Macy a couple of years back before COVID came and ruined all our lives. And he assured me that the ISD climate is a great festering climate that kids can excel and do well. And you know, to his point, up until recently, I would concur with that. The issue we're having is that we have parents and community members that are very concerned of the climate, of not addressing bullying, and how that leads to issues off campus, as we unfortunately have seen. So we're asking that the board publicly addresses those issues, whether it be bullying and policies, something to show the community and the public at large, that these issues are being addressed. We have children that can't sleep at night, and also, we want to ask, I know you can't answer me now, but I want to be on the record, if a child or someone has been victimized, will the school district provide the resources for that child? Whether it be therapy, whether it be counseling, whether the parents or the family doesn't have to bear that expense if it happened on the campus. To this point, we haven't heard anything. Parents have not been contacted about that, and that's a grave issue. And I understand no one can be Superman and be all places. This is not what this is. We just want accountability, and if the parents and the community knows that the board's going to address this, I think we can move forward progressively, positively, and be the community we want to be. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next item we have on our agenda is executive session. Executive session may be called for the purposes permitted by the Texas Open Meeting Act, Texas Government Code Sections 551.071 through 551.146, Sections 551.071, consultation with attorney, Sections 551.071, any agenda item, Section 551.072, for the purpose of discussing the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property, Section 551.074, personnel matters, appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, dismissal, or complaint, and Section 551.082, for the purposes of considering discipline of a public school child or complaint or charge against personnel. We'll be back.
Did he get one?
No, really, I think he went to start school bus.
Okay. Unless there are any objections, then we will stand adjourned. Oh, wait, we are returning from executive session. It is 8:34. Unless there's any objections, stand adjourned.